Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really revolutionary concept for managing how athletes perform and, just as importantly, their well-being. We're going to break down a real proposal made for one of the world's top football clubs, and it's all about how data can create a virtual copy of a player, basically a digital twin, to keep them at the absolute top of their game.
So, first things first, we got to understand the core problem this whole technology is trying to solve. See, for elite athletes, the biggest threat, it isn't always the other team on the field. It's actually something way closer to home. So, let me ask you, what do you think is a top athlete's greatest opponent? Seriously. It's not the rival they're squaring off against on a Sunday, or that tough defender they have to get past. It's the one they can't see. Yup, we're talking about that relentless pressure, the chronic stress, the risk of total burnout. These are the invisible enemies that can absolutely derail a career long before their physical skills ever start to fade. And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. I mean, get this. In major organizations, and yet that includes elite sports clubs, up to 40% of all work absences are because of these invisible pressures. That's a massive hidden cost, not just in money, but in lost potential right there on the field. You see, traditionally, clubs have handled this in a really fragmented way. You've got physical data from GPS trackers over in one department, and then mental health support is way over in another. They're just operating in separate silos. The new way, well, it's all about integration. It's about creating one single, unified view of the athlete so you can predict problems and jump in before they even start. Okay, so how do you solve a problem like that? Well, the solution being proposed is a piece of tech called the digital twin. And it's designed to be the bridge, the thing that finally connects the physical world of an athlete with their psychological world. So what exactly is a digital twin? Well, think of it like a living, breathing digital replica of an athlete. It's this 360-degree model that's constantly being updated in real time. It pulls together every single piece of relevant data to build a complete, up-to-the-second picture of their health and how ready they are to perform.
And we're not just talking about one stream of information here. Oh no, the twin is fed by all these different sources. So you've got psychological data, right? Stuff from daily check-ins on their mood, their stress levels, their motivation. Then you have the physiological data. All the stuff from wearables, tracking their sleep, their heart rate, their training load. Of course, you have their medical history. And this is so important. For female athletes, it also integrates women's health data, things like the menstrual cycle, which we know has a huge impact on performance.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does this actually look like in practice? Let's make this whole thing feel real. We're going to follow the story of a single player to see how it works. So let's meet Lucia. She's a star midfielder for her club, a real key player. And picture this. It's a Tuesday, just 2 weeks before a massive Champions League match. She's out there training, just like any other day, and in the background, the system is quietly logging everything. Her GPS data from the session, her daily psychological check-in. This is her normal. This is her baseline. But then, that night, the system spots something, a warning pattern. Her wearable shows a 12% drop in her heart rate variability. Now, that's the tiny variation in time between each heartbeat, and it's a super critical sign of physical stress. The system also sees she got 1 hour less deep sleep than usual. Now, on their own, these are just small details, right? But together, they paint a really clear picture. Her physical load is high, her recovery is low, and she's starting to feel mental fatigue. And this is where the digital twin does its magic. The algorithm connects all these dots. It cross-references these new warning signs with Lucia's entire medical history, and it calculates a pretty startling figure: a 25% increased risk of a muscle injury if her training load stays the same. Instantly, an automatic alert goes out to the coaching staff and the team psychologist. So the team doesn't have to guess what to do. They can act on solid data. They immediately adjust Lucia's plan. They reduce her training load for the next day, they schedule some active recovery, and they even send her a short, targeted mental wellness exercise through her app. The whole intervention is precise, and it's completely preventative. And the result? Well, the potential injury is completely avoided. Lucia arrives at that huge Champions League match with optimal energy, she's focused, and she performs at her absolute peak. And yeah,
the team wins. That right there is the direct payoff, turning invisible data into visible, proactive care. So that's the impact on just one player. But the real potential here, it's so much bigger. When you start applying this kind of thinking across an entire club, well, that's when it becomes a full-on revolution.
And you can see how the value just ripples out to every single department. It's not just about the players on the pitch. Think about it. HR can use it to keep an eye on staff well-being, to reduce burnout among coaches and support staff. The women's section gets a tool that's specifically tailored to maximize their players' health. And the psychology department, they get precision data, which makes their therapy and support so much more effective, and it frees them up to do more high-impact strategic work.
And this isn't just theory, by the way. There's real science backing this up. Studies are showing that an integrated approach like this, especially one that connects mental well-being with physical factors like the menstrual cycle, can lead to some huge, tangible gains. We're talking up to a 12% boost in performance and up to a 20% reduction in injuries. Those are game-changing numbers.
So you start to see that this whole approach, it really goes beyond just one club or one piece of software. What we're really talking about here is a fundamental shift in the entire philosophy of sports science and how we manage athletes.
Think about it. In the past, you had these generic mental health programs, and all the data was stuck off in its own little silo. The future is about precision performance medicine. It's a world where mental and physical health aren't two separate things anymore. They're managed as one single integrated, interconnected system.
Ultimately, this kind of technology moves a club from having a partial, fragmented view to having a complete 360-degree model of health and performance. It takes all that disconnected data and turns it into what could easily become the club's single most valuable asset.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As technology like this becomes more and more common, will the next generation of trophies be won not just on the pitch, but in the data lab? The game is definitely changing, and it looks like the digital twin is leading the charge.